Okay, anybody else have a question? Press star.
Christian?
Yeah.
Earlier, it's Kenny again. Earlier, we were talking about the whole thing about mistake that you had made reference to. What source was that coming from?
The restatement of trust, the second, the law on trust.
Restatement of trust?
Yeah, it's the restatement second, the law on trust.
Okay. And is that 332 section that you referred to in restatement second, is there similar language in Gilbert's somewhere?
Well, there might be. I don't know what section it is off the top of my head. You'll probably find an equivalent to that under the UTC, Uniform Trust Code. You could do a Google for that. That's free. Get that off the internet.
Uniform Trust Code, okay. That was a restatement of trust, second?
Yeah, restatement second, law on trust.
Okay, great, thanks.
I've heard that it's restatement of the law on trust, second edition, whatever it is, but it, put it in there, restatement second, law on trust in a Google, and you'll pop it up. It's a 3-volume set. It's about $1,700. So you got to look it up. You got to go to the law library. And But section 341 is merger, and the one about the mistake was 332, power of revocation or modification omitted by mistake. And it says, if a trust is created by a written instrument and the settlor intended, there's that word intent again, intended to reserve a power of revocation, but by mistake omitted to insert in the instrument the provisions reserving such a power, he can have the instrument reformed and can revoke the trust. And that also, in the second part, talks about modifying it. So section 332 on the restatement of seconds, the law on trust. That's revocation or modification omitted by mistake. So even though they say that the trust is irrevocable, well, I'm sorry, there was a mistake made. I'm the grantor, and I can do anything I want because I'm the 900-pound gorilla. Sorry. Any other questions?
Yeah, Christian, you were talking about the war debt earlier, and if we were to pay that, well, who would we approach? What office would we approach to utilize our private credit to pay that?
Okay, you got to kind of understand the scenario, how things are working. You've got the IRS/the Treasury, which are like one entity, right hand, left hand. The IRS is the master accountants. They know of all the transactions, and they know all the amounts in the accounts. All the assets are being held in the Federal Reserve, and all the colorable titles are in the DTC. And they all work in conjunction. The DTC was created for an indirect holding system for the speeding up of transactions, changing from one account to another. So the IRS is the record keeper of all the transactions, and all the funds are kept in the Federal Reserve. So where would you think you'd want to go?
DTC?
No, IRS.
IRS. How would we clarify that we're trying to put that private credit towards that war debt?
Well, I'm going to first establish my position of a trust by claiming trust and proving trust with the commissioner. And then once I got the establishment of that made, now I can do the instructions of the indenture, whatever it says, whatever I want, to comport to the grantor's intent and purpose.
And through that is how we would express to direct that towards that.
Yeah, so then I would say, I'm telling you to, not with precatory language, I'm going to order or command you to make a payment out of the trust fund to settle all past and present debts, public and private, against such and such account. And as long as you don't enter into any future debts, you don't have any problems. Now I've corrected the master file in the IRS, and when I do my W-8 series IMYs and BENs, there's no conflicting information when any withholding agent is going to do their due diligence. Nothing comes up to conflict with the BEN forms, and they can do the transactions or the payments, and there's nothing that they can disprove when I claim my status as a non-resident alien, foreign to the United States, and not under the jurisdiction, statutes, and codes, and the ability to make private credit payments anytime I like.
And that really sounds like that's at the core, at the heart of Nutrest technology. Is
yes. Otherwise, you're just pulling the leaves off the tree, which keep on growing back. That doesn't mean I can't settle an issue in court, say, or whatever. I was thinking that you might have to go back and claim it all, get rid of it from the start. But with this new thing that I discovered here about, claim yourself to be trustee, you can come in and use the protection of the protective trust or the discretionary trust, and then issue them a payment offer to pay the beneficiary so he's not insolvent. And, of course, we're talking about a specific case, so I could close a case down specifically just with that.
And is that your intent for the workshop, to walk us right down that path?
Yeah, we're all going to be doing it together in the workshop, yeah. I'm not providing silver bullet paperwork. You guys are going to be making the paperwork. We're going to be making it right as we go. We're going to apply what we've done in the past under debtor-creditor, like we did in the Treasury when we deposited all that stuff with Snow and Paulson and Geithner and that. And we're going to duplicate that, and we're going to put it on the right side this time. We're going to put it all in trust. And we're going to study the trust and know all the nuances and things that we got to do there, and we're going to come up on the winning side. Because now, that's how you gain control of both sides of the ledger, public side and private side, which you had all along, but you just never knew it because you never knew how to express it being a trust. Everything's got to be a trust because we don't have any money to complete any contracts. There can't be any contracts out there. When you go to the grocery store and buy groceries, you don't have a contract there. You got a trust. Now, as soon as we start thinking trust and acting trust, that makes a difference. Now they can't construe it to be debtor-creditor that you owe a debt. Any other question?
Now, earlier you said that you would not only utilize the special deposit on the private side in a court case, but you would turn the case into trust property. How would you do that?
By that example that I gave earlier on page, I think it was 127.
Is that in Gilbert you're referring to?
On Gilbert's, yeah, right. We're liking that to the except for value, but it's not except for value, it's trust. That was section 442 in Gilbert's. See, my signature in trust, when I express it by grantor, say in my signature, that is an acceptance. So if I make up an allonge and do an acceptance on there by, say, some kind of declaration, and attach that to and give notification, and if I got the elements and the method of construction of a trust or formation of a trust, then there's a trust formed. And if I give them instructions to the trustee to do the special deposit, and I don't need to even mention special deposit because I could say, hey, just like I give you my pen, and I want that back. Well, if I want that back, that means that you got to give me that specific pen back. Then there was a special deposit made. And that means that the same pen that I put into deposit, you must give me back, and no other pen will work. Because if you give me another pen that's not mine, that I gave you originally, you commingled funds. And now you're in breach of trust.
But I'm still trying to make the connection to how you would turn the case into trust property.
I just told you.
I guess I'm going to have to go back and listen to the recording.
You're gonna take you're doing like an except for value under this transferee's rights under 442, where it says the beneficiary can assign only such interest in the trust as she has, and the transfer is not a transfer of trust res itself, but only if an equitable interest therein, or only of an equitable interest therein, and whatever conditions or limitations attached to the beneficiary's interest prior to the assignment apply against the assignee. So I'm going to do an assignment, which is like the return for value. That's where the flip comes in. And since they're holding the hot potato, so to speak, they've got the liability. And who am I going to transfer it to? The trustee. And the moment I transfer trust res property, that's when a trust is formed. And as long as I got the elements necessary, intent, purpose, party, specific, trust res, and one of the methods of formation, and I'm going to use number two, transfer, and I'm going to use a delivery, probably an endorsement, and also an assignment on the UCC3. Now we got a trust, and I got the documentation to prove it, and I got the records to prove that I made a special deposit, and none of those guys needed to know or understand. Section 23, Restatement of the Seconds, Law and Trust. Also, page 19 on Gilbert's Summaries, Section 67. In the very same way that they used to apothecate me into slavery, now they're duped into a trust as well.
So it's a little definition of flipping the script on them.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They've been using trust all this time, whether they knew it or not, getting us into this. Now that once we know and understand, we can do it to them. And the way you're going to get the Republic back is to terminate the whole trust purpose, the reason why they formed the trust, pay the original war debt, and the Republic comes back automatically.
Now I'm going to switch gears. Now, what if we had a situation where we paid a mortgage loan off with Federal Reserve notes, and then we wanted to go back and compel the lender to either produce the note or to pay you for that note because they couldn't produce it? How could we utilize this technology to do that?
So you paid a mortgage off with Federal Reserve notes?
Right.
What did you pay off?
The balance on the loan.
Okay, how did you pay it off?
With a check.
Or did you pay it with debt funds? And does debt funds pay anything?
I understand your question. So what you're saying is I really didn't pay anything off because there was no substance to pay it off with.
Right. If you go on the Treasury website, one of the frequently asked questions says, what is the value of a Federal Reserve note? And they put in there, quote unquote, has no value, period. So how can you take something with no value and pay something off? So what really happened? It was a trust. Now we need to start talking trust stuff, trust terms. What really happened? Well, you were paying Federal Reserve notes on an unconscionable contract, which was really a debtor-creditor contract because you didn't express it to be a trust to start out with. So the problem is you need to go back and re-express the trusts, correct all the misconstruements, and then I can either compel the trustee to force him to do his duty or move the titles and merge them into one entity and then terminate the trust, and either way, they got to distribute the funds, and I get my check just like Roger Elvig says, where's my check? So number one, I'm going to express and prove the trust. And number two, I'm going to create a title if a title doesn't exist. Then I'm going to claim it on a UCC1. Then I'm going to move it with a UCC3 and merge the titles if I want to do that. And then three, collect on the disbursement, which is really the enforcement.
And is there any time limitation to ever go back and express?
No. It was all done under fraud, wasn't it?
Absolutely. They didn't disclose completely.
Right. If they say there's a time limitation, I just claim fraud. But remember, fraud takes a heightened pleading.
What do you mean by heightened in this context?
Well, if I'm going to come into court and say we're going to claim fraud, well, you have to have a heightened pleading, which means I got to have specific elements there for a fraud complaint. There's 3 or 4 specific things that have to be there element-wise. You have to have it set up specifically for that. If you look up, go to the law library and look up, causes of action, look up fraud, and you'll see the specific wording that they have in there to prove fraud. It's called a heightened pleading.
But the challenge with bringing any party to answer for that is that nobody signed those closing documents but me. So bringing any specific person forward for that could be a challenge in itself because...
Well, the documents themselves is the proof that under 3-105 in UCC, it says the person making out or signing the instrument on a note is the maker, and the one who signs the check on a draft is the drawer. And then I got a court case in Kansas City, the federal bankruptcy case that says under Nebraska, I think it was, or Kansas, I forget which one now. But anyway, it says that the signer on the note is the trustor, and the trustor is the same as the grantor. And the maker, the payee on the note is the beneficiary. So there it tells me that the same thing is comporting to 3-105 under negotiable instruments, that the maker of the note is really the grantor or the trustor, and that's the proof you need to establish your position and make a claim and prove it. Because the actual document signature is the proof that you want to make a record of. And nobody can say otherwise, because that's the reason why there's no other signatures on that thing. They only needed yours because it was a trust. You were making a declaration of forming a trust there. You didn't even know it. They knew it.
But the only way to compel them is to actually bring this to court, right?
Yeah. You're going to have to claim trust and prove trust in court, yeah.
Okay. They're not just going to roll over with me making written presentments through the mail.
I don't think so, but, if you present your case strong enough, they might want to, before it gets down to it, they may think twice about going into court.
Well, Christian, if you're open to it, I'll be happy to pay you part of what I get back if you want to work with me on that case.
No, that won't work for me.
Okay.
There is no money.
Okay. Well, then I'll just have to learn how to do it through the workshop.
Yeah.
One of the things that one of the notaries that I'm working with ran into recently was that she went to file documents at the local courthouse, and the records clerk told her that only an attorney can bring those documents she wanted to file. And of course, I told her that the records clerk is making a legal determination, and if she's willing to stand there and suffer the liability for her legal determination, then so be it. But do you have anything you would add in beyond that as far as getting these people to accept the filings?
No, that's pretty good right there, what you stated. That last them or they're, are you an attorney? If you're not an attorney, yeah, they're making legal determinations. And you might want to come in and ask them, what are the requirements for me making a notice filing or an affidavit filing in case they are different from different states.
Thanks, Christian. That's all I got.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? Press *6. State your name, where you're from.
Hi, Chris. This is Jean again. I don't have a specific question, but I was just looking on the American Law Institute website about restatement law second trust.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it shows that they have a restatement of law third trust.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm.
That you're still using second.
Well, the third is a little more modern view. The second is a little older. But keep in mind, all that is statutory trust law, which comports the Gilberts also. And that's all black. But what we really want is the white. We want the private trust. So I'm just giving examples and teachings on statutory trust so that you can recognize when you see a private trust, you can understand the white by sight instead of the black, because you know the white by knowing the black.
I understand that in theory and practice, obviously.
Yeah.
So, but thank you.
Christian?
Go ahead. Who's this?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. Gilbert's Trust 2008, is that just the total, the complete title? Gilbert's Trust?
No, it's called Gilbert Law Summaries, and that's a whole series. They have one on trust, one on contracts, one on tort claims. So you want the one entitled Trusts by Edward C. Halbach, Jr. So it's Gilbert Law Summaries Trust, the 2008 version.
So it's Gilbert Law Summary?
Yeah, summaries, yeah, because there's many of them. And the particular summary we want is trust.
2008.
Yes. 13th edition. 13th edition, 2008. Or newer, I suppose.
Okay, 13th edition. Okay. Would Barnes & Noble have it, or the library, I guess?
They can order it, I know that. Yeah.
Okay. How much is that about? Do you know?
It's. I think it's under $30.
Okay.
That's with tax, I think.
Okay. Thank you, Christian.
Okay. Thanks, Al.
Christian, this is Eric again. Does it sound right that the restatement of law 2D of trusts with appendices for the full set is $317?
$317? Well, it must be a used one for the whole set.
I'm looking on west.thompson.com, and it doesn't say if it's used. It looks like it's new.
Okay, it's not, say, what do they call it, compilation or something like that? Is it a 3-set volume?
Yeah, it looks like it's 3 books.
How much is it? $317? Is that sure that's not per volume?
It says list price for the set.
$317, huh? Last time I looked, I thought it was like $1,700. Might have been wrong.
Yeah, because it looks like there's 7 different items that you can get, and they're about 63. A few of them are 63, and 2 of them are $30 each.
Okay, yeah.
There's volume 1, volume 2, volume 4 and 5, and then the rest of it's abbreviated, so it's hard to see what it is.
Yeah, make sure that's
right
summary or something. That's that. Make sure that's the actual.
Does it sound right that there's 7 different volumes?
I thought it was a 3-set volume on the restatement itself. Yeah, I think that the summaries are cheaper. That's why I'd make sure that you don't have just the summaries.
Yeah, that's why when you said 1,700, and I saw 317, I had to ask.
Yeah, I do. I'd double check and maybe confirm it with them if that was the actual thing.
Christian, Tim out of Tucson.
Yes, go ahead.
Someone sent me some files of yours off of ForShared, and pretty good list of maybe 15 of something back recordings. and they suggested that I listen to numbers 21 and 22 first. Would you agree with that?
I forget what numbers 21 and 22 are.
Well, sadly, I don't have 21, but 22 is money banking and trusts.
I think they're the new NTT. I think that's when that came out.
Yeah, 11/7, I believe, is the date, or maybe 11/5 of 2009 is where NTT started. So anything following forward of 11/5 or 11/7, right around there, say November and December is all NTT stuff. So I would start in November, the beginning of November, and then work forward.
Thank you.
Christian?
Yes, Pete, go ahead.
Can I ask, I'm just looking at Oxford's Law Dictionary, and it's the word assignment. It's very interesting. The transfer of a chose, which a chose being a thing or a right, in action by one person. Sorry?
Chose in action.
Yep. By one person, the assignor, to another, the assignee. By the rules of the common law, this was not permissible. If, for example, A was owed a contract debt by B, he could not transfer his right to C so as to enable C to sue B for the money owed. So A would always have the debt to chase. The assignment of certain choses in action is now authorised and governed by particular statutes. For example, the Companies Act 1985, obviously is UK, allows shares in a company to be transferred in the manner prescribed by the company's Articles of Association. These, however, are special cases in general. Choses in action, whether legal, e.g. the benefit of a contract, or equitable, e.g. a right under a trust, can be transferred either by equitable assignment or, under the Law of Property Act 1925, by statutory assignment. For an equitable assignment, no formality is required. It is sufficient that the assignor shows a clear intention to transfer ownership of his right to the assignee. If, however, it is a legal chose that it is assigned, the assignor must be made a party to any proceedings by the assignee to enforce the right. Could you just sprinkle some magic dust on that, please?
Welcome to trust.
Hello.
Under law it wasn't possible, but under trust it is. And especially statutory trust.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, when you said about 1938, everything became equitable, became statute.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to be whatever the time period. It's going to be the same in England. So we're sharing the same common ground there.
Mm-hmm.
So my way of thinking now is that I'm the man.
Trust, where it says it was started in England and now it's in American jurisdictions as well.
Sure. So I'm now looking at concentrating on Mr., the title, being my trust instrument.
What was it again?
This is how I'm seeing things now. I'm me, the man, and I have a title which I can't get rid of, but I want to use it. So I'm now looking at it from a point of, you know, how do I want to operate it? It's my machine in commerce, if you like.
Yeah, right.
So just looking at assignment and how that runs through there, I think it displays many of the properties of trusts, but I just can't grasp the separation from when you said that now equity is statute. You know, why they're describing it still as equity and statute sort of separately when they're actually together.
Yeah, they changed the definition of equity being fair and just to statutes and codes.
So,
and then they held real equity in chambers for substantive rights.
Substantive rights, yes. Now, I was in court today and I heard the judge use the word substance and I was wholly surprised.
Yeah, that's the substance is in chambers where the real man resides. That's where everything is sentient. In the fiction and the public, everything doesn't have sentient. And that's how they can use the know and understand without you actually knowing and understanding. Because they don't have sentient knowledge over there. Everything's dead.
Yes.
It's all by a record formed your intent. And you don't have to have sentient knowledge on that side in the public. In chambers, you would, under a private trust. And then here's a definition which ties in with the Ben form, where I think it's on page, 2 or 3, where in the instructions where they give definitions of beneficial owner. But this is out of Black's Law definition here. It says the beneficiary's interest in trust property. That's number 1. Number 2, a corporate shareholder's power to buy or sell the shares though the shareholder is not registered on the corporation's books as the owner. Bingo! That's a definition of beneficial owners. And they are always trying to establish on those BEN forms who the beneficial owner is.
So I wonder what BEN means, is short for, I should say.
Well, that's the shareholder that is not registered on the corporation's books as the owner.
So it's the man.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, Pete, appreciate it. Anybody else have a question?
Hi, Christian. I was just searching around and I found like a website that has all of the audios. Do you have it on a 4Shared?
Yeah, but there's a lot of them up there, but they're not all up there yet. No.
Okay, I just was wondering if I found the right thing.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
And also back to American Law Institute, Restatement Law.
Okay.
They have available products, and, I think about the Restatement Law Third. They have Volume 1 and 2 hardbound for $190 and softbound for $75 for Volume 1 and 2, Restatement Law Third Trust. So the price that you gave for that other might be correct.
Quite possibly might be, yeah.
Anyway, I thought I'd use the price.
Yeah, the restatement of seconds and the third, we'll be using that, as well as the UTC, and the Hague Convention also has a international version of trust law also. You'd want to get that also. And that's Googleable. You can get that off of Google, do a search off for that. And the UTC is also free off of Google.
What were could you title?
The UTC, Uniform Trust Code. That takes some searching to get that because it actually goes by a different website. It's like NCC something or other, and I forget where it is. And then you download the particular state that you're in. And the UTC was originally started out in California, and then that became the model that all other states kind of like have comported to. So if you get New Jersey or Ohio or something like that, then it's really based off the one in California. But anyway, it's a uniform trust code. It's the model that everybody's using state-wise.
Okay, and you mentioned...
Actually, in that 4Share site, there's a couple versions there.
Okay. And then there's the international version under the Hague Convention. And that one is entitled Convention on the Law Applicable to Trust and on Their Recognition. That's the title of it. If you Google that, you'll probably pull it right off the Hague Convention. It's called the Convention on the Law Applicable to Trust and on Their Recognition. And since I got it in my hand, I'll pull out that one I was trying to get. Yeah, that was Article 6 under Chapter 2. It says that a trust shall be governed by the law chosen by the settlor. So whatever form you want, you got the right as settlor to choose it. So I'm going to choose my law form, say 1776, Declaration of Independence, which is pre-statutory United States formation in 1791, pre-statutes and codes.
Would that be common law?
That'd be private trust, yeah. That's the white.
And how do you spell Seinter?
Seinter. Last Saturday's show, I went all over intent, which I explained intent, knowledge, understanding, and sentier. Any other questions? Star 6, state your name, where you're from. Anybody else? Okay, let's call it a show.
I was just going to ask you how you figured all this out, Christian.
About 15,000 hours plus.
Hey, Christian?
Yeah.
You think somebody ought to tell Sam Kennedy to tell people to quit writing these bonds and making this public debt bigger?
Well, if you can operate in that realm, I don't see why you can't do that, because you will get some kind of a remedy.
Okay.
It just won't be consistent, and you're going to take your chances. You're going to be one of those that's like less than 10% get a remedy. Me, I don't like those odds.
Not to mention that you're increasing the public debt.
Yeah, right. And then they're drying it up by putting it into treasuries and making the credit short and increasing the velocity of the money supply, increasing the forward pressure on the velocity of the money. That's all they're doing.
I looked into some research onto Jewish banking, and it's very tied in with Jewish religion.
Yeah, Jewish Sitar.
Yeah.
I did a previous show on that alone. I traced it all the way back to Babylon on one of the earlier tapes 2 years ago.
Oh, God knows where that would be. Have you heard of a group called Chabad Lubavitch?
I didn't catch the name. What was it, Pete?
Chabad Lubavitch.
No, I don't. Doesn't ring a bell with me. No.
They pretty much run the whole show. If you go to davidduke.com, he has a full research thing on it. And
does it mention anything about trust?
No, but what it does say is about death, and it says that in the religion that they follow, they see themselves with the God-given right to set off death to infinity and forever, just to keep on rolling that death just because of who they are. And that's why...
are they establishing who they are as grantor? Is that what they're doing?
Well, it seems like, yeah, they're saying that everybody else is nothing and they are God's children, and that's their religion, and they're really high up in some big places. But they had a party in Christmas, or their version of Christmas at the White House, and where there's not allowed to be a cross outside of the White House, they have their candlesticks. Okay. This is from David Duke's research about these people.
Well, see if you can dig into that a little more and see if it comes up anything trust-wise.
Okay, will do. There's actually Eustace Mullins who recommended on one of his many radio shows, which you can catch on YouTube. He said, have a look at the stuff that David Duke's looking at. And they are definitely the ones who are running the debt system.
Okay, David Duke or David Icke?
David Duke. I think he was the only Republic, like true Republic, ligature, what's he called? I don't know what you guys call it, like a congressman or something like that in the state of Louisiana. And I don't know who's put it out, whether he was in the Ku Klux Klan or he is in the Ku Klux Klan, or whether that's just being put out as a red flag or something. But his actual Jewish-related research is very concise from what I can see.
Okay, I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Frank in Florida.
Hey, Frank, go ahead.
Hey, well, I would just ask Pete one thing before I get into the question. Where can we hear Eustace Mullins on the radio?
If you go onto YouTube.com, and just type in Eustace Mullins, and you just find endless.
I know. I've got his books and stuff. Okay. About reserve. Christian, the things you were talking about, the checks and the signing as a maker and drawer, and then on the draft. Can you go over that for a minute?
Yeah, UCC 3-105 says that the maker on the note, or the
signer.
Yeah, the signer is the maker, and the draw on the draft is the drawer, the signer. That was 3-105 of UCC, and that was the first issuer. So he was the grantor really of the whole thing. He's the one who established it, and then that court case. I got it here someplace. Let's see.
While you're looking for that, Christian, I'll just mention that if you go on YouTube and look for a channel called Raising Kundalini. And that guy, he uploads all the latest Eustace Mullins radio shows, which are all current and latest. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Christian?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's me, Chris.
Hey, go ahead, Chris.
There was in UCC-3104 that I thought the folks here might find interesting is what Gene Keating was telling us a long time ago. And it says, except as provided in subsection C and D, negotiable instruments means a non-conditional promise or order to pay a fixed amount of money, with or without interest, or the charges described in the promise or order. Then it goes down and says, an instrument is a note if it is a promise, and is a draft if it is an order. And then under F it says, check means a draft. That means your promissory note at closing was a check. the draft that they cashed and endorsed.
Right. Yep.
Without
owner, debtor, creditor, because you didn't make the payment through the expression of the trust.
Right.
So here's the case. It's United States Bankruptcy Court, District of Nevada. It's In re Joshua and Stephanie Mitchell. And it says in the footnote under number 31, it says, Nevada recognizes that parties may secure the performance of an obligation or the payment of a debt by means of a deed of trust. In Nevada Revised Code Statute, sections 107.020, the maker of the note is the trustor, and the payee is the beneficiary. So that's the fact that you can use to prove who the trustor or the grantor is on by the signature of the document that you signed. The same thing under section 3-105 in relation to debtor-creditor law, which states that the drawer was the issuer, the maker on the note. Same thing here. So you need to turn the original signature of whatever it was that you signed into the specific deposit, and you can also use that document to prove that you are the grantor on the whole case.
Okay.
So you create a record of those facts, UCC1 and a county recorder, and now you got certified copies that you can put into a court case to prove that you're the grantor on the instrument.
What was that Nevada case again?
Let's see, what was it?
Was it Enri?
Yeah, Enri, Joshua, and Stephanie Mitchell. It's case number BK-F.
I got that one.
Got it, okay.
Matter of fact, I think I sent that to you.
Oh, all right. So it's BK-S-07-1626-LBR.
Yeah. Can you say that a little faster?
A little faster? Okay. Case number BK-S-07-1626-LB as in boy, R. And it's footnote 31. And that's by a judge that entered an order, his decision.
Christian, you were given...
So you might want to look up the Revised Code Statutes section 107.020 also. And that has to be comportable to every state out there. You can probably find that in your own state, whatever that comports to.
And what does this relate to again?
The proof or the signature that you're the grantor of any instrument that you signed. It's for proving that you're making the claim to prove the trust.
Christian, one more question. That convention on the law applicable to trust and their what was it? And their recognition. That was section 6-2, or what was that?
That was chapter 2, article 6. Says the trust shall be governed by the laws chosen by the settlor. The choice must be expressed or be implied in the terms of the instrument creating or the writing evidencing the trust. Interpreted, and if necessary, in the light of the circumstances of the case. So in other words, if you don't come in and express it with the right kind of wording, you allow it for them to construe it, and they'll go construing it. But on that, now that I'm thinking about it, on that expression of the trust on the 3 lines that I gave you there in the footnotes, we probably should put in there, if we want to set the law form also. Because we established intent and purpose, and we specified all parties except for the trustee, and we identified specific dress because it was this case filed, and we established grantor position also, and we could set the law venue by putting in, say, 1776.
Magna Carta.
Yeah, that might go back too far, though. Declaration of Independence, 1776.
Or the Bible.
Yeah, right.
Amen.
Yeah, that's where those unalienable rights came from, by God. How many million Christians do we have in the United States or America? 200 million, something like that.
Only problem is they're Judeo-Christians.
Yeah, that could be, but if you bring up a question about the Bible, they're going to be uprising with a big stick. And then probably, 300 million Americans that if you start talking about, tarnishing the Declaration of Independence, you'll have them up.
Oxymorons.
Well, it's up to us to wake people up so that they know and understand, so they're not slaves. That way they can choose whether they want to be slaves or not. Any other questions?
Yeah, Christian.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Rhonda again. I paid off my house with debt instruments the other gentleman was talking about. Now, they did send me back what appears to be the original note. It has no marks on it. I realize it could be a high-quality copy, but it looks like the original note.
Can I ask you a question, Rhonda?
Huh?
Can I ask you a question real quick before you go further? Did you rub the back of the paper to determine whether there are indentations in it from your signing?
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's what you should check, because we done caught some out there where the indentation is not there. They were high-quality scans.
Okay, so there should be an imprint there with the pressure of the hand.
There you go.
But
we had one of those. Yeah, we had one in Ohio, and they got caught out there. They had to go run away.
Great.
Go
convince those guys to go after them.
I'll definitely check that. But since I paid with Federal Reserve notes, which was debt instruments, so it's never really been paid off, I was wondering, could I take that note that they sent me back and turn around and make another special deposit with it and tell them to pay it off?
No, just disclaim that one and tell them I want the original note back, plus all proceeds therefrom.
Okay.
And not only that, on that note that they gave you, did it have the endorsement on it?
It had my endorsement on it.
No. The pay to the order of endorsement.
No.
Well, that wasn't the original note.
Was yours securitized?
Go ahead.
Was your note securitized, do you know?
It was securitized by... Oh, well, that's what I'm saying. It looks like it's the original. It don't look like it has any markings. I didn't check to see if it had the indentations where it was actually my signature that signed it.
I might want to check and see whether or not they securitized it. Go check the S3 registration statements and find out where they securitized it at. If it's been securitized at all, then that's commingling of funds. That's a breach of trust right there.
And what was that you said to check?
Check if they securitized the note through the S3 registration statements, the 424B call reports and that. Find out if they entered it into some kind of trust fund, if they securitized it.
Well, normally they don't register them, so they never show up.
Well, somehow I'd track it, see if I could establish some kind of evidence that they securitized it. Once I could prove that, then that's proof of commingling. And then they breached your special deposit.
But the point is, in order for them to create the so-called funds from that note, they had to deposit it. There's no way around that.
Right.
They had to deposit to pull out the check to pay the seller. And then they normally sell the note thereafter. Now, if that note does not show the endorsement so that it could have been deposited, then that's not the real note.
Okay.
It has to have that endorsement. Oh, let me ask you this question. Is the alleged lender the same lender that you signed up with? Or is it a different...
Yeah, it stayed at the same place the whole time. They never sold it off or anything like that.
Okay, well that might be true then.
Is there anything on the back?
No.
But I find it hard to believe for them, even if it did stay with the bank, how did they generate the funds?
It has no markings on it whatsoever. It looks like it's my signature. Looks like my signature. Looks like the original signature, the blue ink. It doesn't look like a copy. I realize to make a high quality copy, but I definitely will check for the indentations of the signature.
How long has it been retired now?
Since last October.
And how long was how much was it for?
How much was it for?
Yeah.
Probably, it was like $45,000.
For how long of a period of time?
For, 15 years, or 10 years. Oh, 15 years. It was 15 years.
It's hard to believe that, it's something that new that hasn't been securitized.
Yeah, that's hard to believe it hasn't been fractionalized.
How did you get that? Did you request them produce the note?
No, I paid it off.
Oh, you paid it off. Did you request the title page to see if the mortgage was satisfied?
No, I didn't. I just paid it off, and I just got the envelope of stuff they sent me back.
They didn't send you like satisfaction of lien?
Yeah. And it looks like the note, but nothing on it except my signature. No other endorsements, no stamps, no nothing.
How in the world did they fund that loan then? Because they don't pay you, they don't make loans themselves out of their own net worth account. Because normally when they take an instrument from you, they'll create an asset and a liability. And that's where the check comes from, out of the liability account. It never comes out of their net worth. I don't understand that. Especially if they're operating on the GAAP.
Yeah. I would say that the chances that they didn't securitize it are highly unlikely.
Yeah.
Well, I'll look it over real good again, but just at the face value of me looking at it, it looks like what I signed, my signature, nothing else on it. No stamps, no endorsements, no nothing.
Unless maybe they made a high-quality copy and then stamped that up and deposited it and then moved it on and retained the original, being that you said it stayed with the same value.
I doubt they did that very much, because then they might get found out for passing on a fraudulent instrument.
Well, they do that all the time anyway.
There's got to be some fraud there, one way or the other.
Because look what happens with these mortgages right now. Because most of them that were securitized, the original notes are destroyed anyway. So when they come to court with a copy, what are they doing? They're passing on a fraudulent document, instrument. In majority of these cases, they cannot produce the original because it's not even available.
And this is Eric. I was bringing up the subject about all this before, and when I paid mine off, the note was not returned to me. So this is it's interesting to hear this, that her note was returned. She's probably one of the very few that will ever have that happen to her.
Yeah.
Did you demand the note back?
No, I just paid it off.
No, I mean this, Eric, is that, who's speaking here?
Yeah, that's Eric. Christian, it's me.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm in the process. I've done a written notice in demand for the note, but I've received nothing except for, we'll get back to you within 30 days because it's been paid off and it should be in our archives, and that's all I got.
Hey, follow that up, because if they don't come back with it, you can create a suit against them.
Right, yeah.
Face value of it.
Yeah, they must surrender the note, or else it's still out there in a sea of commerce.
Which means somebody could come after me for it down the road if they so chose to, right?
Right.
Exactly. And that's done happened before, too. Remember that big case that was on YouTube for a little while? The lady out, I think it was in Washington, she paid it off, and then all of a sudden Wells Fargo coming back at her again, wound up taking her house.
Wow.
Never got the note, never got the lien release, although she paid off the loan, alleged loan.
My mom and dad paid their house off. I need to find out if they got their note back.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, if you don't ask for it, it's not coming back. The most you get is a lien release.
But think trust, think special deposit, and then ask for the special deposit back.
It sure leaves a lot of open ends for everybody, though, to not get that note back.
Yeah, I know another guy. He's in the process of suing them because he went through the regular channels through the initial case, basically ran its course. So now he's going to go after them on independent suit.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you for taking so much time with us tonight, Christian.
Hey, no problem.
He's a night owl anyway.
Well, if there's no more...
Are you having a call tomorrow?
Wednesday, yeah. On the 8 p.m., yeah, Eastern.
Tonight I got an email from you through DimDim that there was supposed to be a webinar. Was there supposed to be something actually on the we were supposed to interact with on the net for this call?
No, that's called a meeting. A webinar is like just a call. A meeting would be in a meeting room, and we'd have access to the whiteboard and stuff.
Okay.
Christian, how often do you have your calls?
This one will be every Tuesday from now on. And there's one for Monday. I just haven't done it. But, yeah, Monday's going to be another one. But that one's by invitation only.
Oh, okay. And I think you mentioned a Saturday one, too.
Yeah, well, the Saturday's my regular call, yeah. 7 p.m. on therealpublicradio.net. Or you could listen in call-in number on that one is 712-432-8773. And the PIN number is 179441#. Just want to listen in, just go on the internet, go to therealpublicradio.net, and don't tie up the call line unless you want to ask a question.
And what date and time, or what day and time?
Okay, that one is on Saturday, every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. The Wednesday evening call is on TalkShoe, and that's at p.m. Eastern, and that number is 724-444-7444. And the PIN number to access that one is 41875#.
And what was the time on that? It's blanked out.
8 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, now just real quick on this note here. What they sent me back, it says adjustable rate note. That's the note, right?
Yes.
Okay. Everything, they sent me the deed of release, satisfaction of mortgage, which has been registered in the county. They sent me the deed of trust, which has been registered in the county. All that back. The adjustable rate note, of course, has not been registered in the county. And after learning about trust, I realized why they don't never register the note in the county, because it's a private note and it can't go in the public. So the adjustable rate note has no registrations in the county. It does have a note number up at the top of it. But other than, and like I said, it looks like a high quality copy.
Did you check the back?
Yeah, it looks like I signed on the back. It's a 2-page, or it's a big long page folded in half. And on the very back of it is where my signature was. And it's in blue ink.
It has the indentation?
Huh?
Does it have the indentation in the paper?
Well, you can't really feel none. Indentation. But I suppose I could take that. Would there be a QSIP number on that note number? Could I track it that way since it's got a note number on it?
Yeah, you might be able to.
You can look it up in MERS.
Okay. So if I can prove that they've converted it somehow, then that's a problem for them.
Yeah. Because if you find a number on MERS, Fannie Mae, or Freddie Mac, or Ginnie Mae's sites, more likely than not, it was securitized.
Okay.
It would just increase the chance that that's a fraudulent copy.
Okay. You guys?
Because in order for that to be securitized, it has to be endorsed.
There's no endorsements on it. This one. Just my signature is the only thing on it.
Now, let me ask you this question. In the very first sentence in the borrower's promises to pay, what is the first clause there?
Borrowers promise to pay. In return for a loan that I have received, I promise to pay U.S.
Stop. You ain't got to go no further. Somehow or another, they had to securitize that, because that document is actually an empty document, because there was never a loan given to you prior to you signing that document. Think about it. In return for a loan I have received clearly states that at a time unspecified in that document you had received a loan, and in return for that you signed a note. That's not how it works in reality.
If you're not speaking, please mute out. Press *6. Okay, go ahead, Harold.
That's not even truly a valid note, so they still need your signature in order to monetize it, so they can have it to go through commerce. That's a dead instrument without the endorsement.
So you're saying they probably never did securitize it?
No, they almost had to securitize it.
Oh, they almost had to?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it says in return for a loan that I have received.
Yeah, in return for a loan I have received. You did not receive a loan prior to you signing that document.
That's right.
Just about every note. I only seen one exception in all my time dealing with this, but it still had language that was similar to that clause. But every note that just about everybody signs is actually a fraudulent note. You never received a loan prior to signing that document. Therefore, the note itself is not evidence of a loan. And when you go over the mortgage deed, it refers to the note as evidence of the loan. Where is the evidence of the loan? There is none.
Then dirty little suckers. Get the snake chopping stick out. Thank you.
Harold, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, a minute ago you mentioned about doing research on Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or Ginnie Mae websites for the note. I'm on Fannie Mae's website. Where would we look for any type of research about a particular transaction?
Well, I know Freddie Mac and MERS, they'll have a link where you can check to see if they have your loan. I'm not so sure on Fannie Mae and Ginnie Mae, although I spoke to a broker and she said that you should be able to get that same information off of them also. But I know for sure Freddie Mac and MERS.
Do you know what link on Freddie Mac it would be?
No, not offhand right now, no.
Do you think it's debt securities or mortgage securities?
Well, if you go to the bottom of the page, usually the bottom of the page, it'll usually click on the one that says Site Map. And when you click on that, that'll reveal everything that's in for the web pages. And then you can go down through the list, and you'll probably find it located where you need to check from that.
All right. Thanks, Christian.
So them saying they gave me a loan before I signed that note, that's pretty much fraud.
Thank you.
How could they?
Yeah, because I just recently created an argument off of that. Because I had used it before, but I didn't really embellish on it. But I now look at it as that's the central clause for that whole document. You take that clause out of that document, there is no loan. There is no note. There is nothing. That whole document is predicated on that one little clause. In return for a loan I have received, you promise to do such and such.
Right, when they took the note to get the funds in the first place.
Clause out, the document is invalidated.
And what did they loan you?
Nothing. Because if you ask them for the documentation regarding the loan prior to your signing, they can come up with nothing. I have none to ever answer it.
So does it say on the note that you're going to make repayments?
What they sold you was an interest rate.
They sold you a Jewish Tatar unconscionable contract.
Yeah. An insurance policy.
Yeah, the insurance. Yeah.
Like Christian says, if you ain't smart enough to express the trust, then you're paying for an insurance policy on it.
Now, what are you paying with? You're paying with FRNs, which have no value, so you're paying with nothing of value, and that's why they get away with it.
And this is why I say they give you nothing for your something.
Yes.
The whole system is based on nothing, and they go around taking our labor and taking our property with nothing. It's the greatest scam ever.
And by law, they cannot lend their
own
depositors funds, so what are they lending?
Exactly.
Nothing.
Well, welcome to Oz, folks.
They're taking your negotiable instrument, whether it be a credit card application, loan application, mortgage note, mortgage deed. They take that and they deposit it because under Title 18, USC 1813, I think it's L1, makes it clear that a promissory note is a cash item to the bank. So under GAAP, they have to create that liability account when they take those negotiable instruments. And anything is in the liability account or demand deposit account, that's what the bank has to pay out. So when they deposit that instrument in that account, that's where the funds are allegedly created. It didn't come from the bank. It came from you. And as we know what happened in 33 and based on HR 192, the people are the creditors. So they prove it in the loan transaction that you're a creditor.
You can also get that statement from the affidavit of Walker Todd. If you look it up on Clause 17, it actually says that, where he says, because he was an attorney for the Federal Reserve, that we are the lenders and the bank is the borrower.
That's correct. I spoke to him, too. I spoke to him for about a half an hour. But I heard he done changed his tune now. They must have got to him. He almost renounced what he did previously.
So was he committing perjury?
Well, that's what I told somebody they could do, because that a guy recently had told me that he testified in the case and almost went 100% against what he had in that affidavit. I said, well, did they present that affidavit into the record? because he did that under oath. He didn't know.
Okay, any more questions?
One more for Harold.
Can I just read the quick piece from Oxford Dictionary?
Yeah, go ahead, Pete. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a value received. It's the definition of value received. Words that may appear on a bill of exchange indicating either that value has been received by the drawer from the payee or by the acceptor from the drawer. Such words are not necessary. Every party whose signature appears on a bill is presumed, unless the contrary is proved, to have become a party for value.
I didn't quite get that.
Well, it's saying that words that may appear on a bill of exchange indicating either that value has been received by the drawer from the payee or by the acceptor from the drawer. Such words are not necessary. Every party whose signature appears on a bill is presumed, unless the contrary is proved, to have become a party for value.
Yeah, that sounds like the footnote, official comments under, I think it's 3-308, proving the signature. Unless you specifically deny that it's not your signature, they assume that the signatures are authentic.
And have value.
Now, I understand what you're saying, Christian, but I'm trying to relate what Pete was saying in regard to what we were just discussing.
Well, it's about how the signature creates any value, and it is deemed in law to have value when it's on a bill of exchange.
Okay. Well, I think we understand that our signature on an instrument is what makes it go, what gives it energy. So that part we understand. But how are you trying to equate that with in return for a loan I have received?
Well, it's the securitization, isn't it, that they then go on and sell using the signature as the value?
Yes.
So they've taken a bill, they now have something of value, and it's the something of value that they can use then to securitize and sell on. It's not that they sell the signature, it's they securitize the thing.
Yeah, the whole problem with that whole concept is that they're doing this without your knowledge or consent. And actually, it's not per se there. It's not per se there because they're not the holder in due course in reality, because they were not the maker of the note. They were not the maker or the issuer. So everywhere you turn, you find fraud. And as I told someone before out in California, I said, based on the very premise of the Federal Reserve itself, anything that derives therefrom is tainted and fraudulent. Two wrongs, you can't make a right.
Yeah, once you go through a stop sign, you can't go back and redo it.
It's done. So everything they do in this fictional world that's coming outside of the that's being the derivative of the Federal Reserve is fraudulent. It has you can't get no other way out of it. It's fraudulent.
It's all black.
There you
go. It's all incomprehensible to the mind.
Well, we're beginning to unravel it, and I think we really have it all unraveled here tonight, because what I've gone through over tonight was really putting the capstone on it all, how to terminate every one of the cases, get a win for yourself, and also how to terminate the master trust and bring the republic back.
Well, now it's time to start working on the docs.
Yeah.
Already started.
So has all of you out there to listen to the call tonight, check your emails to see whether or not you got an email from DimDim, because I made an announcement through the DimDim widget, and you should have got an announcement through DimDim. So check if you got one, and if you didn't, look in your spam box and see if you got to set it up so you can accept those.
Well, you gotta clear your inbox so it won't bounce back.
Yeah. I did. So what comes through DimDim that it's an okay to accept that one.
Okay. Well, I got a email from you through DimDim, but of course, there was, I guess, not a meeting going on there tonight. I think you apparently had announced that in the beginning of the call, but I missed the beginning of the call because I was trying to get on DimDim.
Okay, it should have listed the number. Did it list the 605 number?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it did. Only what happened for me was I called the number and it wouldn't operate properly. Every time I hit *6, it just said that the organizer or whatever had muted the call, wouldn't let me in. Then when I I hung up and dialed it again, then it allowed me in after that.
Oh, well, you must have hit me just when I pressed through the cycle through the buttons. You must have just on the magic time that I touched that clock, and you know, because I cycled through the keypad to familiarize myself with the numbers, and I pressed star 6 and lock it all, or star whatever it was, and lock it all up. But then I immediately released it. So you must have called just exactly right then.
Just so you know, I had some trouble in the beginning of it too, Christian. It was just a bunch of clicking for just 5 minutes until I figured out that I had to call back.
Okay.
Well, is that number that we called tonight going to be the 605 area code? Is that going to be the number from here on out?
Yep, 605, right. 715-4949.
For Tuesday.
Tuesday call, yeah.
Yep.
And that will also be the number for the Monday call with the same code, but that one's an invite only.
Harold, is it your experience that on all these notes, have you seen one that doesn't have that clause in it?
I ran across one. It was a note out of Georgia. And but it had language in it that was similar. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Because that was the only one out of probably hundreds that I came through.
Does anybody know, like on the last Tuesday call, if I hung up, that the call keeps going?
I don't know. I think most of us hang up when you hang up.
Christian?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do I need to be invited to the Monday call?
Yeah, that one's an invite only. I'm looking for people who have, you know, higher knowledge, because we're going to be discussing some things on there that, you know, I want some minds to bounce some stuff off of.
Yeah, but do you mind if we listen in? Just listen in. We might catch something by accident.
Yeah, but what we're discussing on this call, I really don't want to get out to everybody else.
Okay, who asked me that question?
Eric.
Okay, I found it. This one has, and this is the only one out of so many that I came across. It said, I borrow, promise to pay, United Community Bank, lender, or order. Now check this out. This is another thing that was unique about it. In lawful money of the United States of America, the principal amount of $491,900, together with interest at a rate of 8% per annum on the unpaid principal balance from June 15, 2006 until paid in full. So this one was a little bit different.
And it makes you think about unpaid principal balance. Well, if you would have expressed the trust right there at the closing table.
You know what principal is? Principal, by definition, is trust res.
Hey, only Vistian could know that.
And this says from June 6, 2006. So that unpaid principal balance was the same day that the note was paid. So this is not saying in return for a loan you have received. It just said an unpaid principal balance from that same date. So yet and still, there's no proof that a loan was given.
Yeah, it was a trust deposit all along, but nobody expressed it being one.
One thing I was thinking about, in order to show that these notes are the original, what if at closings people were to carry, for example, an embosser to the table and emboss that note to where they can't fake it?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, you can go in there with a personal seal.
Really, if you have made a special deposit to begin with, then, you know, you really got them anyway. Or if you come in and express it to be a special deposit.
Can you bring your own notary?
Now, the problem with using some of these approaches at a closing, it was just like when my brother, he purchased one in May, and I had him to do certain things at the close, and I was surprised they allowed it. He used a restricted signature, he used thumbprint, red thumbprint, and then at the end, I told him when it's just about ready to go, I said, "Oh, one more thing, can I get a receipt for the promissory note?" And they almost freaked. So imagine if you start, bringing in things regarding the special deposit and a few other things that we discussed, they won't know how to handle it.
Yeah. How did he restrict the signature? You remember?
He signed by his signature and by authorized representative.
Authorized rep.
Him and his wife.
If anybody starts getting my email, notice how I sign my name now at the email. I put ... Christian.
Unfinished.
So now the 3 dots represent there's something missing in there, and under 3-111 of the UCC, it's an incomplete instrument, that I can add words later on because that was my intent. 3-115, excuse me.
Frank in Florida.
Yeah, Frank, go ahead.
The Chief Justice, he puts special private collections, restricted accommodation endorsement.
Yeah, that'd be under debtor creditor. But I'm going to use 3 dots because I'm going to say it's incomplete because I'm going to put in there later on if there's any question by grantor. And the 3 dots is the kind of like the disclaimer that there's some missing things that go in there, and that's by grantor that goes in there.
Christian, can you do that as a seller at a closing?
Yeah, anytime I give my signature, that's the minimum thing I'm going to get on there. Now, if I can get away with by grantor and put my signature, then that's probably what I would do.
Would you be able to, would you say if you were a seller and you went to a closing and 72 hours thereafter that you would be able to effectively go in and at the closing or the 72 hours thereafter stipulate that express the trust?
Yeah, because 72 hours does not apply to trust. That's debtor creditor.
So you could express the trust as the seller at the closing?
Yeah, at the closing or any time thereafter. Because that was my intent. It was a mistake that was made. I forgot to sign by grantor, excuse me. I'm reforming this whole thing. But see, I'd have to claim the trust first, prove the trust, and then once I've established my grantorship, then I can come in and modify it because of mistake.
So you would go in and sign, if you had not expressed the trust or set the trust up yet, you would go into it. I've got a closing. There's a reason I'm asking this. It's on my heels.
Yeah, if you don't feel by signing by grantor on your signature, if you don't think it's going to go through, we'll put ... and then sign your name.
Okay.
Now, what if they object to that?
Well, here's what I would do. I would come back and find out where UCC is stated in your state and find your statute that comports to UCC that says that I got a signature is anything that is my mark.
Okay.
Let's say like it's 3-308, which is not the right one, but say 3-308 is the one about signature and the mark. So in Florida, it's 673.308. And that's my Florida statutes for UCC. The reason why you can't bring UCC into your court cases is because you're not quoting your state's UCC comporting to what it is under your state rules, or your state code, I mean. And the same in federal, because UC is codified in, I think, Title 28, and you got to pull out the code Title 28 to bring it into federal, and you got to pull in your local state UCC statutes. You just can't quote UCC.
Well, I've heard as of today actually that someone went in and they had filed a 2890 and 91, and when they got no response from the lender, they also filed it with the comptroller of the currency, and the comptroller called the lender, which happened to be Wells Fargo, and Wells Fargo said yes, they had received some documents, but they were frivolous, and the comptroller said, oh no, they're not.
Mm-hmm.
No, you will respond to this one way or another. So I was just curious going into a closing where you're the seller, because my position was that I wanted to put them in a position at the closing to handle this without having to keep sending them letters and doing the things that I was doing with no response.
Well, there's where enforcement came in with the comptroller, but remember, that's all under debtor-creditor.
Right.
That's not trust, though.
Right. That's true. That is true. Second question I have is, how did you, I re-listened to your 21st conversation in reference to negotiable instruments, and if you don't wish to speak about this at this time, that's fine. But you were talking about the brokers.
Right.
And my understanding of their position is that they are designated through what they call cutting houses.
Yeah, they also have the license to be able to do the transactions.
Right.
And everybody knows licenses to do, something which is illegal.
True. I agree with that as well. Do you find, I guess my question is, and listen to tonight, is that once the trust is set up and we're positioned with the trust, and once we settle our debt, our total debt, based on our surety position with the bankruptcy, what will stop them from either, one, increasing that debt at the rate that they've been going once we put in a settlement, or continuing to try to
make us continue to be a surety on additional debt?
Okay, first of all, they don't make the money, you do. So as long as you don't sign any more instruments for them, you're not making them any more money.
Okay.
And the last part, I forgot what the last question was.
Well, we had talked about going and finding out what our participation of the debt would be.
Okay, well, the IRS is going to be the one who knows that, and whether they're going to tell me what it is or not, I don't really care. Once I give them the instructions, they're obligated to make the transfer out of the account and pay the debt.
Okay. So even if it was a blank presentation for them to settle, then they would settle whatever that is.
Yeah, whatever the amount is, let me know whatever the... I'm going to give them like a blanket authorization, maybe with a bill of exchange, to authorize them to offset or make the payment, so to speak, against any amount there is. And if you need more money, there's not enough money in there, just let me know. I'll write another one.
Right.
And then give me a receipt back and let me know how much it was.
Okay. All right. Clear that up for me. Thank you.
And if this is not at the right department, please forward this on to the right department.
Well, I think that what we're going to see in the very near future is that the whole financial position of what we are used to is going to change drastically.
Yeah.
Drastically, yes. It has to.
Well, from just things that I am aware of, exactly, it has to, and it doesn't have to just for us. It has to for the whole world.
Yeah, but whatever change is made, if they devalue to 100 to 1, which they've already done, I guess, in Korea, it makes no difference because we still have the same amount. It's going to expand the same rate on the other end. So don't feel like we're under a gun for a deadline because it's going to expand or contract on our side no matter what. And you still have access to as much credit as you want. Because really you're issuing the credit, and you issue as much credit as you need.
It's just like they're just resetting it to zero and starting all over again.
Yeah.
Because right now mathematics says that this whole thing has to implode because everything that we create, so-called, the credit, is only principal. There's nothing there for interest.
Uh-huh.
So therefore, if the interest is not there, well, you're going to have bankruptcies, you're going to have foreclosures. It's inherently built into the system. So when it gets too astronomical, they just have to start all over. So the debt will never be paid. It can't. It cannot.
My understanding is that there is going to be a process in which it's going to limit them to how much they can print. There's going to be a limitation on the back.
The value of it, they'll have less of it, and the value will be up there, back to where it was, and they can start all over again. And they can devaluate it and erode it down and pump up the debt and keep on, just like Harold said, they're going to reset everything and start all over again.
Do you feel that, you mentioned the Hague Convention, as being foreign and setting up the trust, going through the Hague Convention, or going back through that avenue of the Hague Convention, then that should allow us to participate and recognize ourselves, as you say, on the private side. Am I correct in stating that?
Yeah, the purpose of the Hague Convention under Annapolis Steel was just to make documents internationally acceptable to all nations who were signer on the contract, that they give free exchange of, under Annapolis Steel documents. There's no notary certification needed. It's just a higher form of notarization, apostille.
Right. So would you agree or disagree that if you were to obtain the QSIP number and a copy of your birth certificate, then these bonds that are being written that people are talking about right now, that you could actually take those and participate in some of the other programs that are mostly recognized internationally through platforms?
Yes.
Okay.
But first I have to go back and make sure I got the master record all corrected so that I can claim that status on the BEN forms, or claim the status on the modified BEN forms, let's put that.
And after you do that, after you accomplish that status, would you go and create a bank facility on the international side?
Well, if you did any kind of bank agreement, it's going to be according to the Banker's Handbook under 19.02, which I keep going back to. And we need to be issuing our certificates of deposit, and we need to be specifying them with interest. And we need to have an agreement with the bank first.
Would you have to do that with an agreement with a bank, or could you accomplish that as well with doing the same thing that they have done, or would that would be wrapping them with an insurance policy, or would that be throwing us back into the public eye again?
Well, you may have to indemnify them, which we could do. Let's see, I'm trying to pull up this section on the deposit. Okay, under 19.02, under opening an account, under number 3, it says opening an account in a bank involves only a simple contract. So we need a simple contract in which the depositor lends money to the bank. So we're lending money to the bank. In return for an agreement, we need an agreement by the bank to pay back the amount either with or without interest. So we need to get an agreement that they're going to agree to pay back with interest. But once we prove that our principal that the interest is created off of has a source that is foreign, and there's no conflicting information under the BEN forms with any conflicting information in the IMF or any other agency, then that establishes our status as non-resident aliens and foreign source for the interest.
And is there a country that you can become a citizen to with those forms?
Say again, Al?
Would that that statement if you become a foreign national, or say someone that resides outside of the jurisdiction of the U.S.,
correct?
Is there another country you will become a citizen to, or you just become an international?
No, America.
Okay, that makes sense.
So now under 19.02 under D, where it's talking about certificates of deposit, it says certificates of deposits or CDs or instruments issued by the bank, and again, who's the bank? You are, by that other definition we just read. So issued by the bank specifying that a certain sum of money has been deposited. Well, did you issue any certificates of deposit into the Treasury when you made your bonds and all your negotiable debt instruments you put in there? I did. See, you didn't know. So these certificates may either be negotiable or non-negotiable. Well, negotiable is public and non-negotiable is private. So when non-negotiable, the bank simply contracts, there's that word again, contract or agreement, to return the amount to the depositor, there's your special deposit again, plus any contracted for interest. Oh, bingo! So then also under Section C now, special deposits, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to say special deposits are created by special contract, there we go again, contract between the bank and the depositor. And it says special deposits are often payable upon demand, sometimes upon terms, and occasionally they bear amounts of interest. Bingo! And in many instances, such accounts are evidenced by certificates of deposit. You got any certificates of deposit issued for your special deposit you made on your mortgage deposit of your note?
Well,
I guess you can't claim it's a trust receipt then, which is a record of a payment, your UCC-1 filing, and your security agreement. So I guess it's construed to be a debt for the next 30 years.
Well, then that goes back to one of the conversations or one of the questions earlier. Assume that you get your note back at a closing. Let's say if you're a seller and you go to a closing and you request that note and you do get that note back, that's hypothetical, of course, but if you got that note back, is that note now not have value to it?
Well, did it have value under debtor creditor to begin with?
It did to the bank.
Well, actually, the bank did put it in special deposit. They securitized it, and they've got all the interest that they're creating off of that, and it's going different places. But since you're not claiming it, because it's not, you haven't claimed it as a special deposit, so your value, you haven't really got the value back out of it. You just got the note back, and you ended up trading the note for, say, all the payments that you made, which was your sweat equity labor. You didn't get a very good deal as far as I'm concerned. Nobody did.
No, I don't think we did either.
Yeah.
I don't think we did either.
But see, we didn't know or understand at that time. All we had to do was express the trust at the closing and say, hey, this is the special deposit. And, sometime along the thing, after it's aged a little bit, gone back in and said, hey, okay, now treat this as the special deposit or AKA trust deposit, and then do the conversion, and the conversion is under restatements of the second, I believe, under, let me see, Okay, Section 342 is direction to convert under the restatement of the seconds. It says, although by the terms of the trust, the trustee is authorized or directed to convert trust property on the termination of the trust, and the beneficiary, if not under an incapacity, can require the trustee to transfer, now that's an exchange, the trust property to him without converting it. So isn't that what the title company does, transfers it back to the bank without converting it first? Because really you didn't give the direction as the grantor to do the conversion. So under this case, I would give the direction to convert the funds and then satisfy the obligation on the liability side of the account. And that fits with the definition of trust deposit, where it said that, it was the receipt. The UCC1 is the receipt with the security agreement, or the trust receipt. And on the trust deposit, it's the depositor is putting in funds or assets into the account under special deposit to be used per his discretion, however you say, to fulfill any obligations or payments. But you never expressed it to be a trust to begin with as a special deposit. So you didn't even have to tell him it was a trust. You didn't really have to tell him it was a special deposit. All you had to tell him, hey, I want that specific thing back. And that would indicate that was an in-kind special deposit just by that, you wanting it back. Just like I want my pen back. I didn't mention anything about I want that specifically back. I just said I want that pen back. I want my pen back. So it was my intent that I want a specific pen that I gave you back. Same thing on the note.
To achieve that conversion, would you have to file suit in court?
No, just issue an instruction after I've claimed the trust and proved the trust. I mean, if I was in court, I could go through the court.
Do you think there's a specific office within a lender we would want to contact for that?
Send it to the CFO.
Have you ever heard of a special services office within a lender? Anybody?
Yes, I've heard people talk about that, actually, on a couple of calls before.
What do they do, give you a jar of Vaseline?
It is getting late, isn't it? Basically, what I got out of it is that if you can contact special services, that special services, if you want remedy, special services is a department that is more acclimated to give you remedy and to answer your the request that you have and to provide whatever they possibly can provide. They're kind of like...
I'm sure they operate under debtor-creditor instead of trust.
Oh, I'm sure they do. But I think that probably what's happening is there's so many lawsuits going on now and there's so much exposure going on that they have created another department since the other 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 don't know what's going on.
Yeah, well, I like to cut out the middleman and go right to the top.
Well, I agree with you. As long as you'll respond to you, I agree with you.
Now, a moment ago when you were talking about conversion and expression, and you said as long as we issue specific instructions, we could go ahead and make that through a notarial presentment directly to the CFO with a time limit to respond, and if not, then they would be in breach?
Right. Breach certified by a notary would be the unclean hands. It would be the certificate that they've completed a breach, and it would also be taking in all the other causes of action that we come at them for, and sue them in court.
And then at that point, one of those causes of action, we could go ahead and cite antitrust because would that be appropriate there?
Yeah, they're impeding commerce, yeah.
Okay.
Got a monopoly.
That really helps to clarify so much of what you've been talking about for so long. Would it be any different with a court case, you think?
No, everything's a trust. We just got to get it out of our minds that everything is, this and that and everything else. And no, if it's not a trust, I'm going to turn it into a trust because I want to make sure it's got all the elements necessary and it's got all the methods of formation. I'm going to turn it into a trust if it's not a trust.
So by us signing, for example, a speeding ticket or a charging document if we were to be arrested, at that point, as long as we qualify our signature by rule signature, by signing by authorized agent, by grantor, at that point, that's when we go ahead and turn it into it at that point, right?
Well, no. Trust forms when?
By declaration? I don't know the other ones.
Okay, yeah. Trust forms by declaration, but actually a declaration of what? And there's only one particular instance that it's actually talking about a declaration, and that's when the grantor and the trustee are one and the same. So if I'm transferring from the grantor to the trustee and I'm the same entity, how can I prove a transfer, and was there a transfer that took place? Well, no, there was no transfer within myself, although I have to prove it somehow, so I'm going to declare by some kind of declaration that there's a trust, that some kind of transfer took place from grantor to trustee within myself.
So it might be an example of that, Christian.
Trust only forms on a present transfer of property from the grantor to the trustee. So there has to be a transfer of property. So when I give you my pen, the moment I gave you the pen, there was a delivery. As long as I got a witness, whether that would be, two witnesses that saw me do the transfer that can set up a documentation for a record, 2 records, now I can prove that there was a trust.
But how do you do that if the grantor and the trustee is one and the same?
See, that's the special occasion. Now, that's on restatements, not the restatements. That's in the Gilbert's Law on, let me see, I think that's page 65. Let me look quick. Nope, I was wrong. Okay, that's on page 79. It's section 265. Requirement of effective present transfer or declaration. So the declaration takes place of the present transfer because it's within from the settlor as an individual to the settlor as trustee. So the latter approach here is therefore, but the question is essentially semantics are moot because you're transferring the property within yourself from grantor to yourself as trustee. And the only way you can do that present transfer, to show that present transfer, is by a declaration. And that's the only time you're going to use this type of declaration. Only when you yourself are settlor or grantor and acting as trustee also.
How would you express that through the UCC?
Yes. A UCC 1 to claim it, and a UCC 3 to move it, and then also a county recording that would form the second witness on the 1 and the 3. The certified copies of those.
Okay. Christian?
Yeah.
Even though it's an irrevocable trust?
Even though it's an irrevocable trust. First I might have to go in and prove grantor status and then come back in and say then after I proved it that, it was a mistake. And I'm modifying this trust into a revocable trust now.
Are they going to allow us to? Or
they have to.
We're not. Okay, very good. And they don't have to know we're doing it under a trust, obviously.
Well, if we're in court, I may have to do it in court. If we're not, I can do it outside of court.
Okay, can you do it in private? Oh, you can notify the judge in private, right?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Chambers. Good. And also, again, before we hang up, I know obviously I don't want to hang up. I would like to tell Harold, please email me. I have some docs you might like. I want to share them with you. My email address is prosperforless@hotmail.com. I don't know if you got it last time. Thank you, Christian.
You said Prosper?
Yes, Prosper, number 4, LESS@hotmail.com. I got 3 documents that I maybe you already have them. If not, I want to share them with you.
Okay.
They are debtor creditor, so that's why I want to share them with you.
Well, like I was telling Christian earlier today, a lot of the people in the population won't get this. And what we're learning will, be for myself, but for a lot of the people that I'm working with, it's still debtor creditor. So,
yeah, and that's the problem I have. I want to grab everybody into so they can follow us. Some of them it's too hard for them.
Yeah.
And some of them still are stubborn. They want to be a debtor creditor, which I'll respect that. But it is a little harder, but it's okay. I mean, I'm delighted. Even though I don't know anything, but that doesn't mean I won't be able to learn. Well, thank you, Christian. Thanks for everything. And
good attitude.
Christian?
Yeah.
Did we lose him?
I'm here.
No. Christian, now, remember you said about Coca-Cola hiding their formula in a trust?
Yeah.
Okay. If I have a land trust, I keep before I met you, you guys, I used to do everything. All my properties are in a land trust. Okay. Could I place the beneficiary in a trust similar to the way that Coca-Cola did it to their formula?
Yeah, I'm assuming that they probably said that it was a protective trust and we can't disclose this. And when they went into chambers and explained it to the judge said, hey, we can't do this. And they did that successfully through two judges.
Yeah, that's my question. Can I do the same thing? Well, I can try, right?
Yep.
But see, if they want to sue me for anything else besides, whatever the case may be, if they want to sue me, they want me to disclose the beneficiary, which most likely is going to be my LLC, limited liability company or limited partnership. I could have the beneficiary be.
Well, see, I'm going to check or claim that it's just CCI or trade secret information. I can't reveal that.
Okay.
It's private.
Yeah.
It's a private trust.
Because I did have that problem. Someone sued me for $9,000, and they wanted me to go to court and disclaim. Tell them everything that I had. And I have more than one property, and I really didn't want to go, and because I was going to do it under oath, and I didn't want to lie and get in trouble, so I didn't go.
You need a protective order to stop it.
Right. But they didn't do anything they never found out about the other properties. There are about 7 properties. They never found out. They just assumed that where I live, I own it. They put a lien on it. But what I plan to do, I put it in a trust. I'm gonna sell it from trust to trust and to create a clean title. Am I doing it right?
A clean.
I placed it in what I'm trying to say, a chain of title, so that I can have clean title. There won't be no clouds on the title.
Right. Why don't you do a quiet title?
I'm sorry?
Why don't you do a quiet title action?
Well, I didn't know about that. Can you explain a bit? I don't want to take anybody's time, but I'd like to find out.
Quiet title action is for the purpose of clearing titles.
Okay, good idea. Thank you. So it's better than the way I wanted to do it. I have it in my trust, in a land trust already, and I was gonna sell it from Trust A to Trust B and create a clean title.
Okay.
So,
let me up here. I'm not. I see something different. So there's a lien against that property?
Yes, there's a lien on the property on my name, but the property is not in my name. It's in a trust. But they assume that I live in this property. They assume that it's mine, so they put a lien on the property.
Okay, so now here's what you're not thinking trust. Turn that into a trust, that lien. Turn that trust into a lien, or turn that lien into a trust, Make a special deposit of that into another trust.
Okay.
And it was just like I was reading on the except for value, likened it to that, which was 127 in the book, section 442. So when you transfer the beneficiary's interest after the assignment now, you're going to transfer the assignment, the trust part of his beneficiary title, along with the attached lien to it, and assign it to somebody else.
Another trust.
So now, that takes and gets rid of your lien on that one trust, and you transfer.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what I want to do.
So I transfer it into special deposit. So I turned the lien into my asset, held in special deposit, which is the same thing what we do with except for value and return for value. But this is not except for value. This is trust.
Right. Yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting. I had the same idea, but actually not the same idea, but very, very typical. That's why I wanted to bring it up to you, but you gave me a better idea. Thank you.
Okay, it's been a while. I'm getting tired. My voice is starting to get raspy, so.
I'm falling off the chair.
What are you going to talk about tomorrow, Christian?
Lord, who knows? I'll know about that when I get on the call. No, tomorrow is, let's see, we're picking up on TalkShoe. So that's
8 o'clock.
Methods of Formation of Trust. That's where we're picking up on Gilbert's.
What page or what chapter? Because I'll read ahead.
All right, that's going to be on page, let's see. That's page 78 in the book. Section.
Thanks so much.
Christian, it's me again. Before I forget, I mean, I wanted everybody to speak, but if I forget, what's going to happen when we get rid of everything, Social Security, bank accounts, and everything, and I sell a property and I get paid with a check?
You're going to get the disbursement anywhere you want it.
Okay. Let's pretend I sell a property to Harold, and Harold pays me $200,000. It's going to come in a check, right? I mean, where am I going to place it? I mean, how am I going to put an umbrella, protect it, or hide it, or keep it safe?
Well, you're going to have to effectively disconnect yourself from all the other stuff, and that way that source of income is not connected with a U.S. trade or business.
Okay, very good. Okay, I got it. So I won't be needing that source of income.
No, we don't need any sources of income. Our sources of income is my pen.
Right. That's all I wanted to hear. I still like to find out more about this. I mean, what I'm asking you, because I have people who don't want to follow trust. Maybe they don't believe it. Maybe it's too hard for them. Whatever the case may be, I'm doing my homework for them. So I hope you don't mind me asking this.
Well, you know, if we know it's all about trust, then how come we're not following trust law and using trust law against trust? How come we're using debtor creditor instead?
Yeah, because when they want to get us, they use trust law.
Yes, but it looks like debtor creditor.
I know.
But really, they can prove and win just on debtor creditor because they've been creating all these debtor creditor records that you're under debtor creditor.
Yeah, but my problem is now I don't have a problem following your guidance. I mean, I love it. The problem is when someone comes for help to me, and I mean, I cannot express the trust for them. I mean, so see my point?
Yeah, only because you don't know enough about, you know, where we're trying to go.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's what I'm here for. Yeah, that's what I'm here for. And
you're missing
I'm trying to learn.
Those in between the point of where you're going to go, but you don't just know quite how to get there.
Right.
Okay, well, I'm going to call it a night, so if the call's still open, you're welcome to stay on and maybe discuss some things.
Right.
Thanks so much. It was really great.
Thank you, Christian.
Okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow night at 8 p.m. on TalkShoe then.
And delete some of your emails.
Okay, right. Might not get tonight, but I'll get to it tomorrow.
Okay.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Christian.
Okay.
All right, Thanks, Harold.